Good evening. Tonight, we're doing dailies with Sage. Apparently, some call it the Laser Scholar, some call it Better Scholar, depends on your preference, and some call it the Cooler Scholar. Who knows? Who really knows? Hey Merfolk, hey Gazel, hey Kids and Echo. Also, welcome to the Cult of the Pink again, Matthew. I did notice that you actually bought a membership like the other day while there wasn't a stream. So yeah, I think... Can't remember if you got your first one for free through a gift, but either way, thank you so much for the support. The continued support, I should say. And hey Rust, hey Shorakai, hey Bob, hey Amokius, hey Aradel, I hope you're all doing very well. Ran out of luck. Shucks. Also, welcome back to the Cult of the Pink, Amokius. Thank you. And hey Silvermint, hope you're doing well. The big trick that I have that allows me to see if someone is being welcomed back or like are completely new is that there's a little 1 next to those that have had their first months already. So I can see that. It gets even fancier as the months go by. I believe those with half a year has an extra little gem in the top left, like Aradil has. But yeah, thank you so much for the support, and welcome everyone to the stream. We're going to be playing Sage, for one because it's my favorite healer to play at the moment, and for the other reason is just I feel like it has been like an eternity since I've actually done a stream like focused on Sage. I believe there's actually, Matthew, I believe there is one for 1 month, 2 months. You know what, I think I have made notes on that, in case anyone is actually curious. There's one for new member, that's just a gem. Then there's one for 1 month, there's a 1 next to that is like small, looks like a little glint. Then there's one for 2 months, where there's a 2 next to it as well, it's like a interestingly shaped glint. Then there's one for 6 months. I don't know why there's like 4 months between those. Then there's one for a year. I don't think anyone has that one yet. Then there's one for 2 years, one for 3 years, and one for 4 years. Naturally, those are absent on account of I think I enabled memberships like around a year ago, maybe a year and a month. So, you know, unless you were like just clicking that member button immediately when it was enabled, there would be a very small chance of getting that. But I actually made all of the icons on like to begin. I'm pretty sure they show when you check the membership page thing. But yeah, see you in 8.5. 8.5 months or years? And yeah, good you made it, Silvermint. And hey James, I hope you're doing well as well. Good day to you. Right, so we're starting with Expert Roulette. If you want to join me for Expert Roulette, come on over to me. And then we will see if we can put together a light party. And just a little bonus thing I would like to mention for anyone this matters to. If you're feeling a little bit shaky on your tanking, right, and you don't know if you're good or you need some good practice, then if you are in these groups with me, just say it. Like, just say it in the party chat if you want to practice tanking. But you're not feeling too confident about it, because I can make up the difference probably, right? So. If you want to practice tanking, this would be a great opportunity for that, because I'm really extremely confident in my Sage. So this would be a great opportunity to practice. That is of course not a requirement. I know Amokius tanks a lot. I don't know if Gazel wants to practice some tanking. Oh, Thank you so much, Kitsuneko. Thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. That's extremely generous. Thank you so much. And congratulations to... Congratulations to Jail, Jams, Negolai, Traka, and Kaira for the gifted memberships. I hope you enjoy the emotes. Hey, Orion. Hope you're doing well. Solomon says, when I started the game a year ago, I thought Astrologian would be my favorite healer. I started as White Mage, but it turned out to be Scholar, even though I didn't like the concept of shield healers starting. You know, the thing is, what I liked the most about Scholar back in Shadowbringers was ironically like the heal over time system they had by placing down sacred soils and managing their pet. And weirdly, it's the same thing with Sage. The reason why I moved to Sage is because I feel like I have more control over this passive healing system. But that is basically it. See, Gazel says this would be my first time in Expert as a tank, presumably. Don't you worry about it, I have you. Just remember the one tip that I always say for Warrior: don't sit on Bloodwedding. Use it early and often, use it very aggressively. It is your first cooldown. If you do that, I'll play around the downtime in between. And whatever happens, I'll of course help cover your back. Nice. Extremely good. Means I can save exactly all of everything that I need to carry you over to the next one, and you also use Rampart. That is perfect, Gazel. It's extremely good. See, that was perfect. Also very nice, you used Bloodwedding on right around on cooldown, I think. Even if the pack was almost over, that is completely irrelevant. That was exactly as ordered. Very nice. Very good with the enmity. I think that's right, like just about the way that I do these pulls myself too. So like there's nothing to complain about. Impossible for me to have something to complain about in that situation. What? You did the pull exactly like I would have done it? And yeah, that does make sense, Silvermint. I did play both Scholar and Summoner back when they had actual pets as well. That's very well done. Of course, when you're tanking a boss, it can be a little bit of a different experience. But I'm sure you've got that easily, Gazel. Yeah, this is when I say I feel pretty confident as a Sage healer, is the reason why I made a video of me just playing Sage in Mentor Roulette is because that is like the one job where I'm like, I mean, unless the tank does something absolutely ridiculously stupid, I can carry it. Like I can make the difference. Hey Steve, and hey Celestial Illusions, hope you're both doing well. I hope you watched the guide. By that bloke on Sage, so this time no one dies. Well, I feel like I'm pretty comfortable with Sage. Oh, there's a Doom there. Unless a tank does something extremely dumb. We call that foreshadowing. Well, do we now? Isn't there... Is this one where there's a spread marker? Whoops. Meant to actually use Ixia there. I tried to use Celestial Opposition. I played Small Kai too much. The thing I typically think of when I say a tank doing something extremely dumb, that is typically them pulling big wall-to-wall pulls, but not actually, you know, using any defensive cooldowns. That's typically something that sometimes a Sage can't actually compensate for. The accidental Super Bolide wants to know your location. A test of your reflexes. That is actually something that would be extremely dumb, you know, that you got me there. I think that went really well. I don't think anyone was in any major danger.
Hurry, Golbez. The city is already overrun.
That is at least my perspective. Gazel said that was scary. So from my point of view, there was nothing. So if that helps you feel more confident, then that is worth taking in mind.
I think not.
There we go. Perfect. I feel like we're also doing extremely good damage, so... James says I hardly know what I'm doing as a healer a majority of the time. But as long as no one is dead, then it's a job well done. That is true. But it does help a lot when you know what you're doing. That is also part of the reason why I have the shots where I demonstrate how you can maximize your healing in a big AoE pull. Because sometimes you have a tank that requires that. Sometimes you have a warrior that doesn't actually know how to use bloodwetting. And then you have to do the heavy lifting. And by heavy lifting I mean you have to do all of the lifting. Because the tank isn't doing anything. They're just kind of just like holding the bar and just waiting for you to pull. Yeah, you can right click any buff, almost any buff, just off, just remove it. Like, you can actually, like, you shouldn't do this, don't be that guy, but technically, you can right-click off buffs applied by a healer. Like, I can put Terra-Holy on everyone, and they can just right-click the shield off, or the barrier, or the damage reduction off if they don't want it, for whatever reason. Exactly, Murphy. Why would you? But the reason why you would right-click off Super Bolide is just to be funny. That is the reason. It's that one thing. Exactly. As J.A. Justice says, we trolling. We do a little bit of trolling. Oof. Oof, I didn't think it was that close. Just sniped my toes. Uh-oh. I could have used Toxicon there. Oh well. Why would they ever allow that? sometimes you might want to right click off a buff. For example, you're a warrior, you used inner release to burst, but there's an upcoming knockback, and sometimes in a savage encounter you need to actually get pushed by the knockback, or you can't actually make it in time. So you right click off the part of inner release that gives the knockback immunity specifically. That would be one example. And it's also just the freedom to do it if you want to. The reason why I say you can't do it for everything is because some buffs are like, I'm pretty sure that you can't right-click off the Cardion buff from a Sage, and I'm pretty sure you can't right-click off the dance partner buff from a dancer. But we have people in the group right now, so if the Dragoon and the Warrior wants to try and prove me wrong, you're welcome to test right here and right now. I'm ready to put Cardion up. I don't know if Aradel is ready to put up closed position again, although... But yeah, it's simply a way to give the player more control.
We've no time to lose.
How to annoy your healer in one easy step. If only we had returned sooner, I think not. Okay then.
I think not.
I think Durante doesn't think so. He thinks not. He's just like me. I also don't think. Oh, that's what he meant. I think not.
Will be faster if we split up.
He thinks not. Try our new think not. Yeah, that is also true, Steve. If you do a little bit of trolling, like the test of your reflexes, then that's on you if you die. It's impressive if the healer catches it, and if they don't, well, very nice limit break. The transfiguration buff. Wait, what's the transfiguration buff in Deep Dungeons? Is that the one? What is that? Is that from the sustained potion, or what is it?
So be it. I will fight you with all my strength.
He's casting a little bit of old magic. Oh, when you're transforming into the succubus, right? Right, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, that's true. It didn't actually occur to me that's what it's called. Yeah, that is true. And Pomand of Rage as well. If you need to like exit, since you have to hop out of that to actually move. Orbs.
Such savagery ill suits you.
I am very savage. Such savagery ill suits you. You've weathered this before.
You've weathered this before. Let's see how you fare now.
I'm very savage. Kai, the pinkest of sages, indeed. The pinkness is because I've gone beyond red fury or something. How about some more old magic?
Even so, I'll not be bested. Not this day.
Uses hard slash, but uses the blast zone animation for it.
Prepare yourself.
The next phase of a red mage is pink mage. You know, that would be pretty cool.
Friend.
This is what we call uptime strats. When you don't die from the big AoE, it's called planned.
You've weathered this before. Let's see how you fare now.
Nice. Perfect. You know, there's actually something that we've talked about with this particular boss fight before. Sometimes it seems to be incredibly rare simply because, well, given the configurations, there's 7 possible configurations-ish. I think either 5 or 7, wait. 5 or 9, technically, depending on whether intercardinals exist. I'm pretty sure it's just cardinals and the middle. But because most of them are just viewed as a cardinal position, it's very easy to miss. But the way that the mechanic works, I'm thinking of specifically the orb. Let me just find my my overlay here. I just wanted to talk about this real quick while we're here, because it is an interesting mechanic. So we have the arena, and well, how about we just don't draw the arena? It puts down like a sphere here, one here, one here, one here, and then one here. Then the safe spot happens to be here, right? But there is the small chance. Like, this is consistent. If he basically draws like an arrow, but he actually means the opposite. But there is the small chance that he will actually configure it. I believe it looks like something like this. And in this configuration, this is the safe spot, right in the center. I just wanted to mention that because we've talked about this before. There was even a point where I was like, I don't think it can even be the center that is the safe spot ever. But Gazel told me this can happen, and somewhat recently I had it happen. Well, not exactly. I saw the configuration, realized where the safe spot was because of the arrows appearing, and then Durante died, so... So we didn't actually get to see it resolved, but the reason why it is so rare is because I'm like... It's extremely likely that it can only do this type of configuration the first time he does the mechanic. So this one is a chance. So it's a chance, but it only happens on the second time he does the mechanic. which means that if you kill him fast enough, you never see this. And the reason I think that's interesting is because when this dungeon was still completely new and fresh, I remember I was told that, oh, you just do this, because I was like, well, you have to like deal with the mechanic on the fly because you don't know what the answer is, and people had already discovered, no, there's this arrow thing going on, you just go to the lone orb, you're done. But I think a lot of people that just made that conclusion never saw configuration 2, like the center safe spot. Because if you just blindly assume that the middle is never safe, you will eventually get caught off guard. I just thought that was an interesting little detail. Silverman says Red Mage is already perfect, there are no next phases. No, there is a next phase. I'm just saying, will anyone here be surprised if Red Mage gets a step that follows after resolution for their melee combo in Dawn Trail? Just laying it out there. Will anyone here be surprised if they get like a new step? Like an additional melee combo step? Because I wouldn't. Pink Mage would be a combination of Red Mage and White Mage, I suppose. Would it then be a healer? Gazel says if Kai were reviewing my polls, Kai would be saying Onslaught many times. I probably would. But that's fine. See, that's the thing, is that you said that this was your first expert. So what I was looking for was, do you do the thing with Bloodwetting? Not only did you do that, but you also, like, without me saying it, you were using defensive cooldowns in between. Like, that was something I didn't mention, but you did it. So you did, like, you played exactly how I would want a warrior tanking for me to play, which made it extremely easy for me. And that's ultimately like part of the tank's job. If you're playing in a way that makes it any easier for anyone else, then that's good. Any suggestions? Well, from my perspective, I couldn't really see you do anything wrong, Gazel. But if you said yourself that I would have said Onslaught a lot, then you already know that that would be something you should consider. Other than that, I feel like everything went well. I also feel like we did really good damage with Amokyo saying, well, I'm really out of practice with Dragoon and stuff like that. Yeah, also, the part with that, Amokyo, is when I saw you get hit by absurd damage, there wasn't anything threatening you afterwards, so knowing that I know what I'm doing would mean that it would be strategic to go, well, I don't have to step away, I think I can live this. Ryzen Theon says, level 100 Red Mage just has the Flash Bomb become part of its rotation instead of a Limit Break 3. Right, so next we're doing level 90 dungeons. I see spells, so I'm guessing that we're doing the same team. I'm just stepping over here just in case. If you want to come along for the level 90 dungeons, come over to me. I have also seen kids who said they went to do some MSQ stuff. And yeah, let's see. It does look like it's the same team. Let me just go over here. If you don't know where we are at my house in the game, which is of course Louisoix Chaos on EU. Plot 36 in Ward 29, and you just come on over if you want. You are very welcome. Also, when I'm not streaming, you're always welcome to visit. I actually know there's a bunch of people in this community that sometimes plan stuff in the Discord server. The Discord community server that will come over here to meet, because that's, you know, you could say a neutral ground that everyone knows where to find each other. So yeah, come on down. Hey Zach, hope you're doing well. Right, same team. Any bets on the dungeon? Ooh, I'm thinking... I'm going to guess... Ooh, Lapis Banalis. Or Veil. I was kind of feeling maybe it would be Troya, but I didn't guess it. I don't mind Fell Court of Troya. My perspective on it is that I think that the first part of the dungeon is a very interesting mix-up, you could say, because the fact that the first boss is like a mob rush is a very, very effective way to mess up people's cooldowns. Like, either you have to take it really slow by not really using your cooldowns, or you use them anyway, and then everything just gets drifted apart. And that is an interesting way to start a dungeon, because it really messes with you for the rest of the dungeon, if you want to, like, play quote-unquote optimally. But on the other hand, I've also done an absolutely insane amount of runs in Fell Court of Troya, so it can get a little boring. That is kind of the problem with the Expert Roulette only offering like 2 dungeons, is that if you do the Expert Roulette every day for like 4 months, then you will on average have done the dungeon like 60 times. And depending on when you do it, if you do it the next 4 months as well, you will have done it over 100 times by the time it finally circles out of the roulette. Aurum Veil Ultimate when? That would be an incredible mix-up, wouldn't it? You think they're moving like they're moving up through the expansions, but what you actually get is you get the 1 point, like a rework of the 1.0 version of Aurum Veil, and they call it Aurum Veil Ultimate. Tastasha Ultimate. That is also a good one. I have said before that I would like to see some like harder versions of just dungeons. But it is a difficult balance, because when is it too hard and when is it just right? Out of the 100 times I've done Ether Fund, I've seen the minion drop twice. Have you only seen it drop twice, Sip? I think I've seen it drop 2 or 3 times, and I have it. So, like, I guess I was lucky. Does anyone have any idea what the drop rate is on minions in dungeons like this? Hey HK, hope you're doing well. Ryan says, the Burning Crusades heroics, when they were current, were great. Or Chef's Kiss. I didn't actually play endgame in Burning Crusade, so I wouldn't know. I think that... Yeah, see, that's the thing, is that I don't know what is just right. Because I feel like the difficulty that we want with this kind of stuff is a difficulty where you can beat it in your first sitting, but you have to like really respect the mechanics, like really. And I don't know how we find that balance in Final Fantasy XIV, because due to the sheer massive difference between the best and the best of the best, and even the mediocre level player, right? It's really difficult to say whether something is easy because the best players find it easy, or it's easy because everyone finds it easy. I don't know what it takes. And that is also a good point, Matthew. If the item level range is too wide, then you will often be able to outgear the content. And that isn't good either. Hey Axel, hey me, who else? Hope you're both doing well. Yeah, actually, I think Dead Ends is a pretty good example of how a more tight item level requirement, or like item level sync and requirement, makes it a lot more difficult. Because Dead Ends, I believe, is considered a lot harder than basically all other level 90 dungeons. Not necessarily because its mechanics are brutal, some of them are very mean, but the reason is that it has a low... It syncs you to a lower item level than all the other level 90 dungeons. And it expects approximately the same of you as Smileton and Stigmascape. So by virtue of that alone, you might find it difficult to like outgear it. Yeah, Dead End sinks you down. I can show you the item level syncs after the dungeon. Yukaden says... Wait, sorry? Let's see. Steve says, wouldn't Final Fantasy XIV just get called out for copying WoW Mythic if they were to do that? I mean... does that matter? Last I checked, World of Warcraft yoinked their new mount mechanics from Guild Wars 2. And they yoinked their weird tower from Palace of the Dead. So who cares? Just make a good game. They didn't, like, copy the mount system exactly as Guild Wars 2, but any Guild Wars 2 player that looked at it was like, I feel like this is exactly how we do dragon riding in Guild Wars 2. Exactly, Ryan. Everyone steals from everyone. Like, we've already gotten past that. Final Fantasy XIV already stole the combat mechanics of World of Warcraft, so whatever, right? The important part is making a game that's fun to play, I think. Yeah, exactly, Yukarin. That is pretty much the reason why Dead Ends is so hard, is because your gear's worse in that dungeon, making the mobs stronger. There's of course also the part that the first and the third boss both have doom mechanics that can just kill you outright, which is of course really easy of a mechanic type, right? And the second boss also has surprisingly brutal mechanics in a way, where if you don't get it, you just die. And there's also just like some classic mobs, if you know, they're really like the dudes with extremely long arms in the second pull of the dungeon. they have this weird tendency to always hit like a freight train with their auto attacks. Sometimes they even cleave when they auto attack, like just a frontal cone attack whenever they swing at you. It's not always the case, but it's the same as the weird anglerfish in Sastasha and the male Darkhold, where in both cases the weird anglerfish has some extremely brutal buff or debuff that makes it a prime target to deal with. Or the weird gremlins in Great Cabal Library or Holminster Switch, where in both cases they have some extremely annoying debuff you have to deal with. Brian says my YouTube is stuttering for some weird reason. That's annoying. Okay, I don't really know what you can do about that. Oh. Nobody has done savage fishing yet. I mean, World of Warcraft has had their weird fishing competitions, but I don't know if that is actually savage. And ocean fishing is a weird type of, like, fishing dungeon. Yeah, exactly, Orion. If I remember correctly, part of the story of making a Realm Reborn is that the developers sat down and actually, you know, played the competitors to see what works. Sat down, played World of Warcraft. Why is World of Warcraft good? How would you know if you didn't play the game? Huh. That AoE apparently doesn't apply its dot if you block the attack completely. Interesting. Science. You must die. Ah.
My blade thirsts for blood.
But yeah, the thing is, if a game steals, quote unquote, steals some cool feature from another game, if they make it work well, then people usually don't care. Actually, no, that's wrong. The people that care are usually the people that are mad that their game didn't do it better. Like, I'm pretty sure that if people actually got mad, like the people that would actually get mad that Final Fantasy XIV stole mythic dungeons from World of Warcraft, for example, probably would be players that weren't satisfied with however World of Warcraft has done it at the moment. I would imagine. Like that, those would be the more likely candidates. Or people that don't like Final Fantasy. Because they don't want to see it succeed. Savage fishing sounds terrifying. I think that sounds fun.
I give you a taste through despair.
No, Aerodel took like 1 damage. Ugh.
Stubborn mortal.
Exactly, Bimo. It's industry standard to just take the good ideas when they show up, right?
Fill your lungs. No, I
Oh.
will not be defeated by you.
Here's a fun fact, just in case people don't know. The spread markers in that particular mechanic kills the barriers behind us if you hit it with it. That's why the boss gives you precisely 4 safe spots that doesn't touch the edge, so that you can avoid messing it up. Quite interesting. How did I discover that? By wiping, because people couldn't, you know, go anywhere safe. Steve says if they don't like Final Fantasy XIV, they have no right to have an opinion. You know, I get where you're going with that, so I'm going to focus on that. If you, like, this is something that I've said before as well. if you skipped the story of Final Fantasy XIV, like you just mashed through the cutscenes, then you automatically relinquish your right to complain about the story because you didn't even see it. Like, you can say, I didn't find it interesting. You can say that, but who knows if you think it's good or bad? You didn't even see it, right? Like, that's my opinion on that aspect. Similarly, if you don't like Final Fantasy XIV or Final Fantasy, then you don't really need to have much of an opinion on what the game does, right? Would you go to the edge with those circles? Hey. And yeah, that is true, Matthew. The 0 damage equals no effect thing, on the one hand, it's surprisingly common. On the other hand, it is rare enough that you can only know for sure that it exists if you test, like for every mechanic. And it's extra funny when you observe it on bosses where there's like nearly no ability to do it. Like, one of the funniest examples of this is Ifrit normal. He does the the shockwave that pushes everyone back, but the shockwave itself doesn't actually knock you back if you have a barrier. You might think, wow, that's really handy, but then you remember, what jobs exactly have a barrier at level 20? 22 even. What jobs has access to a barrier at level 22? Let's see. Summoner. Did I forget anything? Scholar doesn't yet. That's level 30. Blue Mage could as well, yeah. He could grab Gobskin. But it's pretty much just Summoner has Radiant Aegis. I think it's the only one. I feel like there's one that I'm forgetting. I really feel like there's someone I'm forgetting. Oh, Ninja! They get Shade Shift. And that would work. So Ninja, Summoner, and Blue Mage can use the fact that the knockback on Ifrit's Shockwave is blocked by barriers. Isn't that just incredibly fascinating? It's the most incredible mechanic you could avoid in the entire game. Anyway, the actually interesting part about that is that a scholar or sage that just like puts up AoE barriers every time people don't have one on Ifrit hard might actually save people more GCDs by making everyone like block the barrier, like the knockback. So you just waste your GCDs to give all the melee DPS and even some mages perhaps free extra damage. Shadeshift is a barrier, yes. It blocks 20% of damage. It looked like this. That's a barrier. Yeah, Mana Ward is learned at level 30, as Gazel says. Shurakai says you can have an opinion. It's a wrong one, but an opinion nonetheless. See, that is also true. The key thing is if you are not satisfied with something in the game, but you don't play it or don't interact with it, then it becomes complicated to discuss whether your opinion is fair if you haven't interacted with it, right? If you didn't do it, then, or didn't even try it, then it becomes a problem to actually have an opinion on. Like, is Savage too hard? Is it too easy? Did you play it? Just as an example. Yeah, it's worded really funny in terms of shade shift. Really weird. I think, yeah, Radiant Aegis is worded in a completely different way. And, well, of course, your creation diagnosis, it's like a middle ground between the two, I think. Very, very strange. That also led to some discussion, like if we're talking about weird tooltips, by the way, Kerokoli reduces damage taken by self and nearby party members by 10%. Scholar creates a designated area in which party members will only suffer 90% of all damage inflicted. Is that the same? Or... The answer is yes, it is the same. It should work exactly the same, but for some reason, Sacred Soil and Passage of Arms is worded backwards from all other defensive cooldowns. Silverman says, did you remember to grab your Wondrous Tales this week? Nope. I did not. Often I don't do it. Karen says, I used to not like Final Fantasy XIV purely because of the subscription thing. Then I thought, well, I spent X amount for monthly Spotify and stuff, I might as well give it a shot. That is actually a good point. My argument is often that, like, if the subscription is the problem, the cost of Final Fantasy XIV, I've talked about this in other streams as well, but let me just continue on that. The cost of playing Final Fantasy XIV is less than what a lot of people will spend on, like, a night out in the city. Like, you go to the cinema once, that's Final Fantasy XIV paid for a month. And that's the whole month. The cinema is just this, like, the next few hours, right? Not everyone goes to the cinema. I don't. Really, honestly, I spent that money on Final Fantasy XIV. But if you do these kinds of things, then going, I can't afford a subscription to a video game. I mean, if you want to play the game, then it's probably worth the investment. It's just, you know, once a month where you pay a little bit. But there's so much content that you could play only Final Fantasy XIV for a long time. And you probably wouldn't run out of content. That, of course, depends on how picky you are with the content that you play. And apparently someone left a message in my book. Silverman says, why not pick up the Wondrous Tales? I have my jobs at all at 80, but the map and the tomes are helpful for me. I don't spend the map, and right now maps are, like, at a really low point in price, at least on Louis Soir, so it's not that much money. And all of the other rewards are, like, not something that I need specifically, so I typically just forget. And I have all jobs at 90, so the XP doesn't do anything. So it's not because it's worthless, it's just because I just don't. Partly because I forget, and partly because I just choose to do something instead. I just remember there's MGP, so I use that. Yeah, that would probably be helpful if I used MGP often. But yeah, exactly, that is also a reason. Case in point, Silvermint, I have made a video on the Wondrous Tales and what you can get out of it. And as long as you don't, like, spend a huge amount of time trying to, like, roll the perfect three-liner, it's actually okay. Like, it's okay money. Usually. Stop playing gacha games and play Final Fantasy XIV instead. Some of the minions sell for a lot. Sometimes. But that's exactly it. See, here's the thing. I just want to reiterate. Just saying. I made a video on it. Like, I have calculated these things, and I came to the conclusion that, I mean, if you're doing it anyway, it doesn't take very long. But the money you could make from many of the things you could do with the Wondrous Tales is so small that if you just go and, like, farm gathering for the same time, you probably might make more. Just based on the chance and stuff. And yeah, I made a video on it, so I know. I know. Cross that off your bingo cards. the Kaitsuchaiji stream bingo card. I have a video on that. Check. What's your KPM? Oh, I don't remember, but I do remember it was really fast when we had found a test for that. Yeah, I do write extremely fast. I've been told. I think people stopped commenting on it because my keyboard isn't as loud with this mic, but people often, when I had the old mic, people were like, wow, how do you write so fast? Because it's very loud. And it's probably over 300, yes. Probably. Whoops, we didn't do that one yet. Right, so if you want to come along for 5, 6, 7, 8 roulette, come over to me. Let's see, we have 5. Right. Does anyone mind sitting out this one? That works. Thank you, Mokius. It's always awkward for me because I want to bring everyone. The keyboard typed 3 times as fast for Kai, not because Kai hits the keys fast, but out of respect. Right, so I'm guessing that we have at least 50 and 60 dungeons, maybe some 70 dungeons. But I'm willing to guess that it's probably going to be... let's see. I'm guessing Keep of the Lake. Keep of the Lake. It's going to be Keep of the Lake. I propose a Blue Mage soccer battle for the 4th slot. Oh, Tamtara Deepcroft Heart. That's a classic. The one thing to remember in this dungeon is, on the first boss, do not hit the zombies. Do not hurt the zombies. Make sure that the spread marker hits the zombies, but don't hurt the zombies. No AoE when there's zombies afoot. That's the one thing. Oh, there's a living dead. Moki says, machine is leveling feels weird. Now that I'm level 72, it feels like not much is going to change until 90. What did you get at 72? Well, the thing is, Yukarin, you can survive someone killing all of the zombies, but everyone needs to be prepared for it, and often it boils down to the tank surviving and maybe the healer. Bioblaster. I mean, you get air anchor at 76, but you're right, it doesn't really change much. Is it a 74 that you get an extra ricochet and ghost round? Is that 74 or is it 84? Right, remember, do not AoE once the zombies appear. Just let them do their thing. Just let them. Don't hurt them. Just stay. You can also step out. That's fine. Ah, that showed them. Hey cat, hope you're doing well. It's that easy. It's that easy. Thank you. You know what? That's actually a pretty good idea, Type. I think we've talked about this before on streams. Like an Unreal dungeon or two. Because that's like kind of what the Unreal system is that they freshen up an old trial. Nice stun. Oh, Tsukuyomi Unreal. That sounds fun. The interesting thing, as far as I know, with Tsukuyomi is that the mechanic that is the hardest to deal with on that fight is hard to ignore, even unsynced, unless you can completely, like, overrun the boss in damage. Like, to completely nullify the fight. Because the rest of the fight, like, yes, it is still hard. It's still, you know, an extreme, right? But the particular thing is the floor, the moon floor. You know the one. That's the thing that's really scary. Merfolk says, I'm clearly paying attention to the online class I'm in and not looking at the pretty colors in this streamer's screen. Well, I hope at least you get something out of your online class. Sometimes it can be difficult if you're like, if you don't really get it, you get lost in something, and by the time you're back in it, they've moved on to something else. Maybe it's just not interesting. That can also happen. But I hope you get something out of your online class at the very least. So this fight, you're supposed to intercept these orbs so that Pyraio doesn't have to eat them. The thing is, it's so he doesn't have to, because, I mean, I can heal him. It's just as long as he doesn't, like, die outright, we're fine. There's some particularly big ones that are like, you have to have full HP for if you're not a tank. Nice. Bimo says, I tried soloing Tsukuyomi EX. Is it possible? I don't know. I'm willing to suggest that it might not be possible, because you need two different players to, like, place two meteors to, like, generate space so that you can flip your debuff. And if you're alone, I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can. Like, I don't know if you can't, but I don't think you can. Right? On normal, you can. Simply because, well, you don't need an extra player. Yeah, I think you might need at least one other player to solo Tsukuyomi EX. I'm not sure if 2 is enough. I think 2 should be enough, but I don't think you can do it alone. You need more, like, we maybe in Dawn Trail. Maybe in Dawn Trail is what I'm thinking, but I wouldn't count it out. It's absolutely a possibility that you can solo it, and I just don't know the trick. I know that Blue Mage, back when level 70 was the new cap for Blue Mage, someone soloed Tsukuyomi normal to get the Night Bloom spell. The Rythan Theon says, exactly as I said, 2's enough, but you can't solo due to the meteors. Yeah, it's kind of like a hard body check. It's not that the boss is like, oh, you need a second person to do this thing. It's more so that the boss targets 2 players with a mechanic. And if you're alone, she doesn't, as far as I know. And if she does, you need to be in 2 vastly different positions. For the 2 things you need to do. So it just can't be done, as far as I know. So many grooms to be. Yeah, that was also what I was thinking, Rythan Theon. If you were to be able to solo Tsukuyomi EX, it would be due to like being able to like overwhelm her with damage. Which is why I said probably in Dawn Trail. That went well. That dungeon is one of those where whether it becomes a really long dungeon or extremely easy is entirely down to whether people understand the mechanics. And each boss has like a weird thing. The first boss, the zombies, and if people don't listen and be like, you can't attack them, then you might not beat it. And the worst part is that those zombies are dealt with like seconds before you can kill the boss. So sometimes you might just like, if you can just convince your group to just like, you know what, don't attack the zombies, just speed run the boss down, just kill the boss before it becomes a problem, right? Apparently the zombies are the problem. You can just maybe trick your team into not attacking the zombies if they really want to. On the second boss, what usually goes wrong is either 1, people aren't soaking the orbs, or 2, the healer doesn't know they can heal the Lalafell in the middle. And usually it's a bit of both. Because if people are not soaking the orbs, then the healer can usually alleviate that by just spam healing the Lalafell. But normally this isn't a thing. So that's why people get that wrong. And then in the final boss there's all the grooms to be that people might just ignore because uptime. Yeah, if you soak the orbs early enough, if you're really fast, the Lalafell doesn't take any damage. But you have to, like, decisively just step in front immediately. Hog Manor Hard is also one of the hard ones, yeah. The weird ones. Yeah, exactly, it punishes good DPS. I have heard about that. It's been so long since I did it, so I don't even know for sure. Right, if you want to join for leveling roulette, come over to me. And if you want to stay in the group, of course, you also come over to me. You actually have we actually have 2 4-man groups, it seems. You have to kill the ads before you kill the final boss, else you wipe. You know what? You know what's really funny about that? Is that there isn't, like, an excuse to say, oh, well, no boss has ever had this before, so why would it have it now? Ifrit normal, if I'm pretty sure you have to kill him extremely fast. Otherwise he can actually just go, oh, you're trying to kill me, but my nail is still up? Nah, man. Not having it. And he just leaves. Why warrior when you can blue? Yeah, so the reason why oh right, there was something else that I completely forgot when we did the level 90 roulette. 2 things. The reason why someone sat down and tried to figure out if they could solo Tsukuyomi with blue mage on normal was because, and I did this myself as well, not Tsukuyomi, but when blue mage reached level 70, I did the dungeons synced alone to get the spells because I thought it was funny. This person just went a step further and grabbed Nightbloom synced just because. The reason why you do it synced is because the learning chance when you try and pick up a spell as blue mage is guaranteed if you do it synced. If you don't do it synced, there is a very high chance that it just doesn't give you the spell, so you have to go multiple times. And when I say multiple times, when I tried to get Eruption by doing it unsynced, I had to go over 50 times. So it varies between spells, and I think some of these spells that are like the older ones, they've made higher chance. But the point is, if you don't have the guarantee, then you don't know how long you'll be there. That's usually why I'm like, if I have a friend that's like, can you help me grab blue mage spells? I'll be like, well, are we doing it synced? No? Then no, because I don't want to sit here for 2 hours trying to get you this one spell because the chance is unreasonably low. So people do that. They do it synced. The second thing that I forgot is we were talking about dead ends. So you can see here, actually let's take Smileton. You can see here, average item level, that's the item level you need to be able to enter this dungeon by queuing. 540. That is the minimum item level. That is what the game expects you to have, and if you check the minimum item level box, that's what you're going to get. Item level sync is if any of your gear pieces is greater than this number, then they're just going to like get shrunk down to that number. So it just sets the item level of all of your gear to 600 if it's over that. If you have anything below that, it'll just leave them. So if you have gear so that, like, for example, your average item level is 610, but actually you're wearing like item level 1 shoes somehow, and it like that one thing is dragging you down, it will set all of your other gear that is pulling up to 600 and then just leave your boots as nothing because that's your fault. The reason why this is important is because Dead Ends has an item level sync of 570 and an item level sync of 540, and if I remember correctly, you usually had 560 when you enter this dungeon. Like, you were just handed that. I'm pretty sure it was 560, which means that Whereas Smileton and Stigma Dreamscape, you had like 40 extra item levels to accumulate over time. Dead Ends was like, nah, you're already near the top. Like, there's very little extra power to bring to Dead Ends because of this. You look at some of the future dungeons, you can see Alzdal's Legacy should be slightly harder than Stigmascape and Smileton because it expects slightly more, but doesn't actually lift the item level sync. And then you have Fell Court of Troya that increases the minimum item level by 15, but the sync by 30. And then Lapis Manalis just increases the item level sync, right? So like there's usually like around 40 item levels to work with. So that's the reason. The reason why Dead Ends is so hard is because it's like it's forcing you to be weaker than you'd normally be. And then, as I said earlier, it's further compounded by the simple fact that the dungeon is hard. Like, it is actually not made that easy, honestly. Like, all 3 bosses are very capable of just wiping you. Right, I will ready check again. I derailed our run. Shiro says my Blue Mage would be so much more powerful if I could find an upgrade to my item level 1 weapon. Well, the thing is, Blue Mage weapons, you get better ones specifically that so you can put better materia in it. Blue Mage actually scales way better with intelligence to compensate for the fact that their weapons are garbage. Like, that is actually by design. But yeah, if you could then also find a weapon with more weapon damage, that would be crazy. Also, apparently it says that the chat broke for a second. Shout out to Suffocation. That's a fun one. At least when you know, you know. Well, the Blue Mage weapon isn't entirely cosmetic, merfolk. It's the only reason you care about the item level on the Blue Mage weapon is because you can put better materia in it. But a huge part about it is cosmetic. It's not, like, huge, that's the thing. Like, if you get a better Blue Mage weapon, it's like, oh wow, you get like 50 extra stats or something like that. Hey, Neko. The topic was that someone asked if you can solo Tsukuyomi Extreme. And then that sort of just moved over into the answers. No, you need one other person. But then the follow-up was then, well, a Blue Mage could solo Tsukuyomi normal. Synced. Because someone did it. And then I just talked about that. I'm pretty sure that was it. And also, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Have you tried watching a guide on stage 32, Merfolk? It isn't, it is quite mean. There are tricks like, I believe there's a specific mechanic where you're supposed to use, I believe it's called Eerie Sound Wave, which dispels a buff from enemies. Like a kind of mechanic that you wouldn't, like a kind of spell you would never, ever, ever use normally. This purple beam, you resolve by passing it to one of the towers. Oh, Basil has seen it. One moment too late. Hey Thomas, thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that. Nate and Angel. Hope you are all doing very well. But you know, Shiro, the that suffocation thing on the first boss in Dead Ends, like that is actually a case of I think I've talked a little bit about this in a video at some point. That or maybe it was just on stream. But newer content, in my opinion, has sacrificed like thematically fitting like markers, so to speak, to have more clear mechanic markers as a trade-off. As an example for that, which I do believe isn't it in this dungeon? Was it the next one? Was it oh, that's in Somal, I think. The T-Rex that throws slimes, where back in the day it had a spread marker which was blue and a stack marker which was an orange crystal. Why? Because it was throwing a blue slime and an orange slime, but they have since changed that to a spread marker that is orange for the blue slime, I believe, and a stack marker for the orange slime. Like, they've just completely gotten rid of it. But this suffocation mechanic would have just been a lot easier to follow if it had just had the Doom marker, right? If it had just had the classical Doom marker that we know, then it would have been easier, like in the moment. So it's like, it's kind of weird of like, sort of like a fallback to old traditions. Almost hit 70 on Dark Knight. That's awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying it. But yeah, the thing is with Blue Mage in the Mass Carnival is because it's solo stuff, it can be hard if you don't get it, because no one can help you. At least not legally. Like, beyond telling you what to do. Uh-oh. I had a feeling it wouldn't work, but hey. I also had hope. Hey, Lightborder. Hope you're doing well. Maybe they wanted to kick off Endwalker with reminding players to read debuffs again. See, that would be a thing, I suppose. Lightborder says those bars with job macros doesn't hurt your eyes there. Those are not macros. But no, they don't. They're not macros. If there were macros, there would be like a gear wheel next to them. The way you get one of these is you do this. So it's not a macro. Exactly, they're gear set shortcuts. If they were macros, they would look like this. They don't hurt my eyes. I find it very practical that I can reach them easily. Which is sometimes practical when we're discussing something on stream, actually. Oh, right. Final Fantasy 14 equivalent of a streamer soundboard. Yeah, kind of. A collapsible hotbar would also be like a way to do it. I just don't like having like really intricate macros. I just prefer having it relatively simple. Here's also the thing: if I had used like fancy like collapsible hotbars, then the question that the light border would have had when they entered the stream would, instead of having being, doesn't this box with gear set buttons, don't that hurt your eyes? Their question would instead have been, what are all those macros? So like I would have just replaced one question with a different one. So that's why I try to like keep it simple, so that when you see the buttons on my hotbars, you have a reasonably good idea of what's going to happen. That makes it easier for you to follow at home. And when I use a macro, I often explain what it does at some point. If it isn't clear, of course. Hey, look at the Mage! Are you getting a lot of airy? It's one of the few Heavensward dungeons that you can't solo synced. Heartwing! Delicious. Which part makes it impossible? Oh, I'll show you. The reason why you can't solo this dungeon hasn't shown up yet. But it is this specific fight that caused the problem. You can't solo it synced because you can't kill Nidhogg before the problem arrives. Exactly. This. If you're alone, this will always target you, and you can't get away. And if that resolves, you die, even with defensive cooldowns. I have tried, on stream, no less. It is like this entire dungeon is a cakewalk for warrior because you have raw intuition. Except you can't beat this boss because of Sable Price. Explain how he can cast 2 Dragon Eye AoEs when he's only got 1 eye. Oh, I guess it's not a concentration spell. Crap. I'm pretty sure he has one of Reisvelga's eyes. I'm pretty sure. But, like, I'm pretty sure he has one of Reisvelga's eyes. And that's it. If I remember correctly. It's been a while with this story. But I'm pretty sure it's like that. Like, that's... it's not he has one of Reisvelga's eyes, so he has 2. It's he has one of Reisvelga's eyes, so he has 1. He doesn't have any of his own. Did Aerie get changed? Yes, it did. It got changed when they added duty support for it. But it is kind of funny when you discover the encounters that can't be soloed, when you discover what it is. But the reason you can't solo something like the Airy is kind of boring. Like that is the sad one, because you go in knowing exactly why you can't. You miss any of the old dungeon quirks before duty support? Which ones did get changed that I find weirdly different? I liked old Doma Castle's Grinward more. I feel like he was... like he had more interesting mechanics. It feels like he still has most of them. It's just that they've been shoved so far back in the encounter that you don't see them anymore. Aside from, well, old Bravelock's Longstop's final boss, the dragon, was interesting, but it was just kind of janky, so I don't mind the rework. Like for the... oh, right, Stone Vigil. The final boss there, it did not need to lose the ability to place the frost circles after its AoEs. That should have stayed, honestly. Like, that one, specifically, I feel like was a nerf that wasn't necessary. This actually predates duty support by a bit, but Aurum Vale's coin counter, the second boss, the Cyclops, he used to not have telegraphs. He just did the body animation and then the attack, so you just had to know. I think that was more interesting. And he's like an optional tutorial for those kinds of mobs that use his body structure. The weird part is that Stone Vigil Hard has the equivalent for like those dragons that do like the lift, claw, cleave and stuff like that. But they still don't have telegraphs. For some reason they weren't changed, which I think is a little sad. Also, hey Ymir, hope you're doing well. And 11. Dragon Eye is a fire and forget AoE spell with verbal and somatic components and no concentration needed. What have we got left? We have the 8-man stuff. Wasn't 0,000 more than a linear shot? That's also true, but here's the thing. Just counterpoint while we're on the subject. This was the path you went anyway. I believe the only exception to that was that the first boss room you had to like take a left and go over and grab a thingy and then go back. But this was ultimately the path you took, so the rework to make it a straight and narrow path just means there isn't anything to explore, but the only time you would explore is the first time you go. All subsequent runs, it's just awkward because, well, if there's a new player, you wouldn't want them to not be allowed to explore. On the other hand, you've been here a bunch of times, right? And I do agree on that, BMO. It is a little weird that pretty much everything in normal content is almost always telegraphed, with very few exceptions, but the moment you step into an extreme or a savage, they're just like, you figure it out. Not completely true, but you get my point, is that it's weird, such a massive, like, switch it is. And there was always ads in Totrak. There was always ads. On the two first bosses. I don't know. I can't really add anything else to that. I just know there were ads before the rework, so they didn't change that part. The first two bosses are the same enemy. Yeah, visually, if I remember correctly, the second boss applies a different debuff. I don't know if they still do that. Before the rework, the first boss applied just the poison debuff, if I remember correctly. The second boss also applied a slow, you know, GCD slow, which was extremely fun. Even if they had the same name. Anyway, if you would like to join for Trials Roulette, come over to me. We have 2 spaces. You don't want to join, HK? You're eating pizza. Oh. Angel. Right. Trial. You know what's really sad about roulettes? You can't queue for the minimum item level. Yeah, for the most part, the reworks of the old dungeons, I don't really mind them, because for many of them, I can come up with a reasonable argument for why they reworked it. A really good example of that, I think, is Keep of the Lake. Specifically the final boss. I felt like the first 2 bosses didn't really need anything. Oh, Limitless Blue. But the final boss, the thing that made Midgard's armor a little in his old version was that he was an extremely good example of what I typically refer to as a mean boss mechanic. Because it's a kind of mechanic where if you know, then you get it right instantly. Possibly. But if you don't get it, you just can't beat it. It's really, really mean. And the mechanic I'm talking about, of course, is the field generator, incidentally. Where, like, there's this little Einhander that comes down. And if you know to use it, then you win. If you don't, you lose. And it was extra sad, because if you're the tank, you would have a hard time using it. Because it was interrupted by taking damage. So you just spammed hoping to get it while you were still tanking something. It was not good. The new version is very different. I feel like it's like it makes Midgard's armor a bigger part of the fight. In my opinion, which is better. And it doesn't have a mean mechanic in the same way. Incidentally, Scholar can solo it. That has nothing to do with my evaluation of whether it's a good rework or not. That's just a random fun fact. You can dismiss the echo once you're in your roulette. What? Like just right-click the debuff? Right-click the buff away? I mean, if you're doing something synced and you have the echo, then it means you've usually wiped. So why would you click the debuff? Why would you click the buff away? Why would you do that? Wow, he almost had us. Almost. Why would I do that? Someone in the party dared me. Why would you do that? I don't know. Why would you? Yeah, exactly. I don't know. that actually circles pretty well back to our discussion earlier about why would you right-click off a buff, right? And the reason why I'm saying why would you do that is if you're doing it synced in a roulette, which would be the reason why you couldn't silence the echo to begin with, then you're probably not there in like a challenge run context. And if that's the case, then you don't really have any reason to remove your echo. So I don't know why you would, but it's pretty funny that you can. He almost had us. Almost. He just barely made it. What's this fun? Wow. Right. Let's do normal raids next. I can't do a ready check. Giro says, best legitimate use I've found is to make it easier to waffle the final boss of Aglaia just enough that newcomers get to see the mechanic. Wait, do you get echo in Aglaia? I'm pretty sure you would only get echo if you wiped though, right? Yeah, if you want to have the quote-unquote proper experience in something like Aglaia, you would almost have to like make a full pre-made and do it at like minimum item level. Otherwise, you don't get to experience the entirety of any of the boss fights. It's quite sad. Was anyone surprised we got Alexander? Yeah, these days, even when I've had like a rather slowish feeling group on Aglaia, it feels like you can still make it before the intermission, which is a little sad. Yeah, final day with the old item level sync, which was none, was very, very dreadful in a way. I remember when we did it on Rewind Replay, we specifically did it at minimum item level to make sure that we actually got to see the fight. And it's actually like it's not that easy if you're doing it minimum item level. That boss has a lot of ways to kill you. Ow. My recommendation here is, as the fight progresses, healers consider stepping away from everyone else because of the hammer mechanic. Which is coming now. You see, that was exactly what I was thinking, look at the Mage. You can't actually turn, like, even if we had a full party, you can't do roulettes with these settings. That was exactly what I was complaining about. That you can't. That does sound close to it, but if I remember correctly, the current Unreal is supposed to be really hard, right? Like, relatively speaking. The hammer mechanic, the Judgment Nisi thing, or Nisi that it casts, I can't remember exactly how it works and could easily look it up, right? To my understanding, if you walk into someone with Judgment, with either the red hammer or the blue hammer, you get that debuff. If you end up having both hammers on you, you die. And it's basically like a virus. You run into someone, you get the debuff. You run into the other person, you get that debuff. So that, and if I remember correctly, on normal at least, it always passes one to each healer. So if the healer's just standing away from everyone else, then you're good. What often happens when I get this particular roulette, like this particular encounter randomly, is that the two healers are standing right next to each other, right in the middle of the arena, and immediately die. Like, they get the debuff, dead. And then you're like, you have to do the rest of the boss without them. And yeah, I was talking about Thordan, Angel. Right, next we will do a Lion's Raid Roulette. But I will be right back first. Healers are optional. Oops, don't fall. Alright, I'm back. Humanity restored. Exactly. Manatee's so cute, it cures even the most toxic Final Fantasy 14 player. That's what I need to do. I just like every time I get like a toxic comment or something on a video, I just send them like a link to an image of this. Just immediately diffuses the situation. 3 seconds later, the comment is deleted. Oops. Right, so, see, Gazel said, if we get Labyrinth of the Ancients and the tank doesn't pull away the dragon. Do you mean does pull away the dragon? Oh, that's what you mean. If the tank doesn't pull away the dragon, you will discuss in chat how it is fine to do that, even if it costs you GCD uptime. Right, you'll defend the tank. Right, that makes sense. Manatee emote to spam on toxic Final Fantasy takes. Oh man, that would actually be pretty good. I'm actually surprised that there isn't, like, with all the other random, like, animal emotes, I'm actually very, very shocked that there is no such thing as a manatee emote. Right, we're doing Alliance Raid Roulette. Is there anyone that wants to come along that isn't already in the raid? Are you still eating pizza, HK? If you pay attention or get mad in Alliance Raids, you need to log off and have some social interactions IRL. Well, I mean, if you get mad at the game, there's always a question of whether everything's all right. I get that. There's a difference between getting mad at the game and getting mad at someone for making a mistake, or, you know, getting mad at someone actually being dumb. Day is coming in 2 minutes. All right. I'll wait then. These scented candles smell horrible. I hate it here. Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, this is the thing Lucada Magi is saying kind of relates to a little bit to the thing we've talked about before with people going, Lamau, you don't pay my sub. As long as you can have fun playing the way that you want, then there's no reason to be worried about how others play. The reason why some people can get a little bit annoyed when other people are playing poorly or trolling or whatever is often because them doing that has a direct impact on that individual's enjoyment of the game. And the reason why I say this relates to the wow, you don't pay my sub thing is because the reason why you're asking, for example, the tank to use some defensive cooldowns if they're not, is because you as the healer, or even you as a DPS, don't get to enjoy your job. Tay, that depends on whether you are on Chaos, I think. And if you don't get to enjoy your job because the tank is slacking, like if that's the reason why you don't get to enjoy your job, then it makes perfect sense that you would be very interested in them, you know, playing right. Other than that, then it doesn't matter. Which is, of course, also why if the tank says you don't pay my sub, so I'm not going to use defensive cooldowns, that's why you then play in a way that it ruins their enjoyment of the game, right? Like, that's why that's the perfect counter. You stop trying really hard to heal them. Like, that's how these things work. Or you just get mad, and that tends to also ruin their enjoyment in some capacity, unless they're intentionally trolling, of course. Also true HK. But sometimes, some people need to get countered by an even dumber take for them to realize how dumb their take is. Yumia says, did you know that Shadowbringer, Infuriate, and Aurora share a cooldown? That is interesting, but it does make sense they would code them to share cooldown, given that they all have 2 charges. Huh. Gold says, I had a guy get mad at healers yesterday because we had to let him lay on the ground after his 5th time getting knocked off the map in a single trial. Yeah. At that point, the polite thing to do would be to just quietly stay down, right? But sometimes people don't realize these things. It's always Titan. Ramuh in Eden. Ugh. I don't know what it is with that fight. I think it's because people don't really, you know, do it. Like, you just do it once, and then you're done. Everyone else just lands there due to roulettes. Eden Ramuh has knockbacks, yes. Multiple, even. But the thing with Ramuh in Eden is, because the groups typically are a combination of first-timers and people doing it in roulette that might not even remember the fight, in my experience, people die a lot in that fight. Like, an insane amount of deaths. It's absolutely ridiculous. The reason why I, like, know the fight is because I've done it so much. That's, like, when I was raiding Savage in Shadowbringers, I did that fight, right, on Savage. So the normal version of the mechanics is like, oh, that's the easy version. Yeah, so the knockbacks in Ramuh Eden is he has the dash through the middle. If you're standing in the middle, you die. If you stand on the edge of it, you will survive. But he also has this thing where he just summons horses on the sides, and you just need to stand on the right row to not get hit. If you do get hit, you get shoved pretty hard. And people tend to forget those because the first time he summons them, he just summons them. But if you didn't see it, you die. Every subsequent time he summons them, he's usually doing, like, another thing while they're summoned, so you usually get distracted. World of Darkness. Anyone surprised? That's why this happens. But there's also a big difference between, like, it's perfectly normal if it's your first time with a fight like that, because Ramuh do these things where, like, if you don't get it, you just die. Like, he's really brutal. It's perfectly fine. The first time he summons them, Kai 2023, indeed. I'm very smart. I'm big brain streamer. There's a big difference between between dying a lot in a fight like that. That's perfectly okay. It happens, right? You had to learn it at some point. There's a big difference between that and dying a lot and then getting mad that people aren't spamming raises on you. Right? Like, that's where I'm like, you serious? You serious? Like, usually if I die, someone raises me and I die within, like, less than a minute again, I'm, like, I usually have this feeling of, like, just leave me. I clearly don't know what I'm doing. They usually raise me anyway, because I don't say it out loud. Of course I'll come back if they want me, but, I squandered my opportunity already. Spicy Hawaii pizza? I don't know that. I'm not the biggest fan of like spicy, but I do like me a pineapple pizza. Hot take. Hey Nikolai, hope you're doing well. Yep, Kitsuneko were giving out gifted memberships earlier, and you were one of the proud lucky winners. So enjoy. Yeah, Aradel writes, me fainting twice in Monster Hunter. That is extremely relatable. You go into like a public hunt or something, and you faint twice, so the hunting party is down to one last leg. That's when you're like, maybe I should just stay in camp. You know what I mean? If you played Monster Hunter. Just stay in camp and cook for those who know what they're doing. you just visit camp and you see the guy that fainted twice just sitting there making well done steaks exactly perfectly without failing a single time. But they're not coming to the hunt anymore. Nope. I tried that once. Didn't work. And personally, I really like to hunt as gunlands with a lot more defensive skills and then things like diversion. That gives my group more uptime. But mainly if I have the space for diversion. Oh, double kill. But it's always fun to be the support, in a way. Become roasting spit main. The wide range it's called, Amokius. 11 says, do the cats still carry you on a cart in newer Monster Hunters? In World, I do believe the like you faint, then the screen blacks out, and then you come back to like getting tossed off a cart that is clearly being like carried by palicos. I can't remember if you also see that in Rise, because I'm usually focused on something else when I'm coming back from a faint. But I do believe so. So you still cart. It's just the reason why I'm saying faint is because carting is like Monster Hunter lingo, and maybe not everyone knows what that is. So like to say the more like the specific word that people use, or the specific word the game uses, you could say. I have a better chance of making sure everyone knows what I mean. Can't see if I'm being carded if my eyes are swollen with tears from getting my bum kicked. Aww. Yeah, wide range and things like speed eating is really fun if you have the space. I could absolutely picture myself if I have like if I'm playing through the game with a friend, which I am at the moment, that I would, once I have the skills that I need for my build, like I have my stuff, I would be like, getting things like wide range. Just like if you're playing a duo anyway, then like every time you have to drink a potion, just like topping up your friend as well is very handy. Amokius, that to me, that sounds more like a case of you needed more thunder resist. Or maybe a thunder mantle. The Palicos be like, this guy again. Could you lay off the well done steaks? You're really heavy, you know. You're really heavy, you meow. Yeah, kind of, Shiro. I didn't notice the card after fainting because I was looking at the palm of my hand on my face. It's not entirely inaccurate, at least. Hey, Firefly. Hope you're doing well. Kieran OP when arc tempered. I suppose that is true as well. I do remember that back when World was completely new, that people had a lot of trouble beating just tempered Kieran. You know, I read the other day that there was something that was changed about the World of Darkness within Endwalker's time period. And the thing that I heard was changed is that allegedly, and I never paid enough attention to know whether this is true or not, that it was actually changed to that. But because we've learned that in the Void, like mobs just, you know, dissipate into ether and then get consumed by others and all that, right? All of the bosses just go poof into a cloud of smoke now. I've been told that it didn't always do that, but they do now. It looks like Alliance B does not have a tank. Good luck for them. Yeah, exactly. I have never paid enough attention to like the mobs dying in Alliance raids to realize whether this was actually a new thing or what. Like, you could absolutely convince me that. Yeah, I would probably be inclined to accept it, even if you said like, oh yeah, they used to like go out in a pink smoke cloud, but they don't anymore. Because I never looked. I never paid attention to it. Cole, do you mean the part with those Atomos specifically? Or did you mean something else? They used to dab before they died. Or T-pose, depending on the mob. Just Cerberus just standing up on two legs and just T-posing. So the rule here is if you know how to get in the belly, it might be a good idea to go in the belly, because you can never trust B to actually go in the belly. We will try to get in the belly. The way you get in the belly is when you see the purple orb that pulses minimize, you step in that and become mini. Once you become mini, you look for the purple goop on the floor and step in that. And then you will land in the belly. And the reason it's extremely important you become mini first, because if you're not mini, when the boss launches you, you die. Let's see how many B players got in. Right, so in most of Alliance C came in and 3 B players got in. Good thing we sent our squad as well, right? Hey Bits, hope you're doing well. Mini dispels and the boss just starts choking. Can you send all 24 into the belly? Hypothetically you could, but if you did, I'm pretty sure the boss will reset. Now, we're also Alliance C, so it's technically our responsibility to do the chains, but I guess the other alliances realized that they done goofed as well, so they're taking the responsibility on that. So on the Atomos thing, cool, what you're supposed to be doing is like attacking the Atomos. When the ad spawns, attack that as well, of course. When the targeting reticle from the boss appears on you, there is a little gimmick you can do. If you step down from the platform, the boss can't actually suck you in. So if you just willingly step down, you completely nullify the mechanic. When he uses Shockwave, if you stand right under the Atomos, you will not get knocked off the platform. So you can use these tricks to prevent the boss from doing anything. Well, the mini-boss. And to make sure other people can get back up, you step on the big glowing platforms on the top shelf, so that the glowing platforms on the bottom shelf glow, so that you can use them as springballs to get back up. That's basically it. Just make sure you're not standing where it's pushing people back down, if it actually manages to yoink someone. And of course, the side you're supposed to go for the Atomos, in case that isn't clear, is A always, the general unspoken rule is A goes left, C goes right, and then B goes whatever there's left. Which is usually mid, right? But sometimes it can be front mid or back mid, but it's like the general rule for alliance raids is A goes left, C goes right, and then B goes whatever. Hey Elifel, hope you're doing well. Cat says, with 24 in the belly, does it mess up the chains mechanic? Well, the thing is, the chains mechanic doesn't happen until you've actually dealt with the belly. And if you're alone, like if everyone goes in the belly, then there's no one outside, so there's a reasonably high chance, I don't know for sure, but I would guess that the boss just resets, because it's like, well there's no one here, so, and it just goes for it, just leaves, just reset. So you don't want to send everyone, but the reason why we have gotten to the conclusion that you send as many as you can is because most people don't actually know how to get in the belly. So if you send every single person that does know how to get in the belly, then you typically get one alliance worth. Yeah, sometimes it can be almost impossible to queue for near raids or doing skates and Mokius. Very unfortunate. Even now, it can still be very hard. Why do I get Weeping City of Ma every other alliance raid? I believe the reason there is, so they did change how Alliance Raid Roulette works. And what they changed is that if you're above level 60 or level 60, then you actually need to have the item level necessary to be able to enter at least the first, if not the two first Alliance raids in the Shadow of Mars series. If you're above level 70, then you have to be able to enter E-Release, and if you're above level 80, you have to be able to enter the Near raids. And similarly, if you queue as a level 90, you have to be able to access the Myths of the Realm. And because of this, if you have ever unlocked them, and a lot of people have over the years, you can land there. Like, it is possible that you will land there. And because a lot of people have at least unlocked one Alliance raid, there's a reasonable chance they have unlocked the Shadow of Mars. And if you're leveling a job, there's a much greater chance that you're in the level 60 to 70 range than the 70 to 90 range. So I think the reason why you end up in Shadow of Mars very often, and I believe Small Kai does as well, is simply because it's just there are more people that could land there, right? Like if I queued for Alliance raids alone, like completely alone, then 100% of people queuing for Alliance raids would have access to these three. At least these two. 100%. Because that's like the only one you would have access to. At minimum, you would have these two. Probably all three. Some percentage will have these three. Probably a smaller percentage will have these three. And possibly an even smaller percentage will have these three. And yet even a smaller percentage will have these three. And similarly, the percentages will decrease with how many people are in the level range to get them. So the lower, like, it makes sense that the most likely stuff is like the lowest level and the second lowest level. Even if it sounds a little silly. That's my guess. That's what I am guessing is the reason. I don't know if that's the reason, but I think that's the reason. This is the same reason why when you queue for leveling roulette alone, there's a higher chance you'll land like a low-level dungeon, because there's more people that have access to the low-level dungeons, of course. TPS Type S says, has there been any change in the Void Arc cutscene story dialogue post 6.5? All I know is I've heard this thing with apparently the death animations for the bosses in World of Darkness should have been changed to like a puff of dark smoke as they are now. Allegedly, they weren't like that before. I wasn't paying enough attention to know whether it was actually changed to that. Bit says, see for sure if everyone getting eaten equals reset. See for sure, then we can then compile all the findings for Kai's next test your claims. Well, the thing is, you could test this. I think you need, let's see, World of Darkness. You would need at least 3 people, maybe 6. Because I'm pretty sure that the Atomos might just barely be able to force you to hop down. I think. And then they will reset. So you need at least 1 extra player each, I think. So you think you would need 6 people, 2 in each alliance. You just queue unrestricted. And then just let Cerberus do its thing. And then if all 6 players enter the belly correctly, then you'll see what happens. If you want to be extra scientific about it, I would recommend having 1 person somehow die, so that they can see what Cerberus does outside when everyone else enters the belly. You can do this, I guess, by making sure that all but 1 person gets minimized, and then everyone steps in the purple goop. 5 players go in the belly, and the last one just dies. Yeah, that's exactly it, bitch. This was something that I noticed a lot, that a lot of people complained about when they changed Alliance Raid Roulette. As you say, you have level 70 Summoner Scholar, you haven't even finished Stormblood, but you can't enter the Alliance Raid Roulette without having an item level befitting of a level 70. Because they're level 70, they need to have high enough item level to enter Royal City of Rabanastre, at the very least. I'm pretty sure. I remember Tristan ran into the same problem. It's an unfortunate result, and it is not optimal. The reason why they did this is because while the way that I described how there's like this pyramid of percentages of how many people have each like alliance raid based on level, it doesn't help the situation when there's people that are lit like that before the rework literally just stripped down their gear so that they could only get these 3 or even these 2 by not meeting the item level requirements for like World of Darkness. So they would always get one of these 2, which was really boring. So the way that they forced this to not work is by saying, well, if you're high enough level to get the higher ones, then you have to have item level to get those, which of course has the unwanted side effect of forcing other players, well, forcing players to consider whether they want to unlock the alliance raids, because once they're unlocked, they can't be unlocked again. Hey, Tostinos, is this game like, what is Gex? EX? What is that? Hey, 11. What is GEX? I don't know. Oh. Thank you, Mia. No, I don't think it is like that. I don't think it is, Tostino. Well, Bits, on the other hand, you could also argue that if you're out-leveling the MSQ this much, then maybe it's about time that you lay off the the Alliance Raid Roulettes for a bit and start doing your MSQ, you know? like on the other side, on the other hand, if you're that far ahead, maybe you should pick up a new job to level with your Roulettes, or maybe you should, you know, start doing your main quest, right? Although I do understand your point that it is a bit annoying. Anyway, I think now we will do the P12N. So if you want to come along for P12N, just the normal, come over to me. And if you can also stay put if you don't want to come over to me but you still want to join. I don't know, Ymir, but if it was what you said it was, then no, that is not Final Fantasy XIV. Not exactly, at least, let's just say. It sounds like Tostino was asking about that, Ymir. I don't think I'm missing anyone. Yeah, that's an unfortunate thing, Bits, is that a lot of people like really like to abuse game mechanics. Thank you, Mokius, and good luck in Resident Evil. But it is an unfortunate reality with that. It's also a difficult balance to strike, because so I made a video on this whole subject some months ago before this rework to the Alliance Raid Roulette was done. Because they both changed this queue system, and then they also significantly increased the amount of tombstones you actually get awarded for the higher level Alliance Raid Roulettes, because one of the core issues with the higher level Alliance Raid Roulettes is that they, one, take longer, and two, don't give any bigger rewards, or at least they didn't. So now they do. To give you more reason to do them. Like, the argument for cheesing the gear cheese trick was, if you just queue for Alliance Raid Roulette in the old system, you got this, well, you got the daily reward, right? And then you got like this. Like all the old Alliance raids gave this pretty much. But Circus Tower takes like 12 to 20 minutes. Depending on how terrible your group is, like if it's really bad, it could take 20. But you know, around there. And if you get anything that it isn't Crystal Tower, there's a reasonable chance it'll take significantly more than 20 minutes. But the reward is the same. Unless you're there for like cosmetic stuff, like a specific glamour piece or something. In which case, you're not even there for the Alliance Raid rewards. Then the tombstone rewards are meaningless, but the people filling the groups are there for the tombstones. So that's why it was originally a problem in the first place. So they buffed that and then forced you to like possibly land in them. But my specific reasoning for saying in my video that maybe that isn't good enough is this. So right now, if you're a level 60 in Final Fantasy XIV and you want to queue for Alliance Raid Roulette, you need to have the item level necessary to do Shadows of Ma, right? Do you need to have Shadows of Ma unlocked? Nope. Don't actually need to unlock it. Which means that if you come to the conclusion, the hypothetical conclusion that that the greater reward for doing Shadow of Ma instead of Crystal Tower doesn't actually make it worth it, then you will actually be directly incentivized to never unlock it. Because if you unlock the Shadows of Ma, you have effectively nerfed your personal Alliance Raid Roulette, making it worse. Like leveling jobs, for example. There's like a direct incentive to not unlock them. But the counter argument to that is, of course, that most of the players that play this game play it just to have fun and don't care that much about this kind of excessive optimization. But the reason why it matters is because there are these like sweaty over-optimizers, right? And they are also part of the people that you rely on to fill the groups. And because you need them to also queue for stuff to fill the groups, you need to also satisfy whatever it is that they want. If they made the near raids give like an absolutely ludicrously high reward for doing them, I don't think we would have trouble with filling those groups anymore. I don't think. Hey Philip, hope you're doing well. That is also a good point, Shiro. You actually need to do Shadow of Mars to progress the Tataro's Endeavor quest line. That might actually be the real reason why Cole keeps getting it, because all these people have had to unlock it. Could you imagine if that was actually the reason? That would actually be a really funny discovery. All it takes is one quest that people care enough about. And yeah, that is also a good idea, Bits. I would heavily advise that if you're trying to do the main quest and try to follow... Oops, shine brilliant for me. That's the knockback thing in the line AoE. I would heavily advise that you're not queuing for stuff if you're doing a quest line where you are interested in the story. I made that mistake. I remember when I started on the MSQ back when I got back into the game in just before Shadowbringers, and then started on the MSQ for Shadowbringers while I was queuing for something. I was sitting there in the cutscene like, I didn't expect this to take this long, but now my queue popped. And the second time it happened for me, I managed to resolve it. Years later, on Small Kai's Rewind Replay, we were doing a Dragoon quest while queued for the next dungeon, I believe. And I was doing voices, as always, in the Rewind Replay. But Estinian suddenly was a really fast talker, let's just say. Oh, whoops, nope. Look at the Mage says, is that why I get Evillies decently often? Because people want to do Boja? That could be. That could also be a reason, yeah. And that's the thing, is that the Around Reborn Alliance raid has a reason to do them, because you have to. The Heavensward ones has like a quest. Like a little quest line you might want to do. And the Stormblood ones unlocks the entirety of Boja and the relic weapons and all that. The Nia raids unlock nothing other than glamour. And there's a massive weakness there. But I mean, of course, as I said in my Alliance raid video, or Alliance raid roulette video, Nia raids has this massive advantage of giving you shorts with tights. Which is, of course, a huge selling point of its own. I don't think we took damage. I use a piece of... Oh, shine brilliant for me. I use one piece of near raid glam. I'm pretty sure I use specifically the piece that Ymir has been trying to get for ages. Whoops. Imagine actually looking at what the boss is doing. That suddenly got really spicy. This Reaper has a death wish. Just attack immediately when they get back up. Fandaniel Protector. Okay. I guess. Hey Gleaming, hope you're doing well. What are the shorts with tights from Nier? They are your hat type 55 bottoms of fending, for example. I don't know if they're the only ones. I'm pretty sure they're not the only ones, but those are one of them. I don't quite understand what you mean there, Bits. Doesn't have any of the things that are just people talking in it. Oh, that's what you mean. That it's type 55 towered Paradigm's Breach. I believe so, yes. Right, it is quite weird that the book doesn't include everything. It only includes like a lot of cutscenes, but not everything. It's really weird, now that you mention it. Right, so the grand finale, we are doing Thalea. You want to come along for Thalea? Come on down. Right. Gazel doesn't have it unlocked on that character, if I remember correctly. A year from now, maybe I'll be level 100 and done with the MSQ and this won't matter anymore. Well, eventually you will have finished the MSQ. At least, like, regardless of whether you are on the free trial or like have like subscription, you will eventually reach the finish of what you have access to, and when that happens, you will no longer have that problem at the very least. When I was doing the Endwalker MSQ at the start of Endwalker, like in that December, I pretty much started my session the moment that the daily reset happened. I would just do my roulettes. Like, if I wanted to do any roulettes, I would do them there. Like, just stop what I'm doing and queue for that while doing, like, leveling stuff. I have a leveling guide. I would do exactly those things. I would go and do, like, old tribe quests, hunting targets, things like that, while queuing for stuff, which usually popped immediately because it was usually, like, leveling a healer or something. And when I had finished all of it, that's when I would go back and do more, do more main quest. That was how I went about it. So Angel, do you want to come along for this? Um. Yeah, it's like, I would just not queue for, like, leveling stuff while I was doing MSQ stuff. I would just separate them completely so I didn't have the concern of, oh, maybe my queue pops, because it will. Yeah, if you've ever heard about the desire sensor in, like, Monster Hunter, where the game just... somehow it just magically knows that you want a thing, so it doesn't give it to you. Final Fantasy XIV has this too. It's called the "oh, you're busy" sensor. Like, I can sit in queue for something, like I'll sit with, for example, Aridel, we're queuing for something together, and it doesn't pop. And then I'll go like, so how was your day? Boom, there it is. Immediate queue, like, just right there. Oh, you're starting something. No, you can't have that. Now we're gaming. Like, the instant you try to do something else, the game goes, nope. Eyes on me. Sorry if that was surprising anyone. Just trying to be funny. But it always happens. So that's why I don't recommend queuing for anything if you want to see the cutscene. But what you can do, Bits, this is like a very weak band-aid, but it is a band-aid, is I recorded on stream the entire MSQ on Small Kai, like the whole thing. So if you can figure out where you are in the MSQ in relation to those parts, you can just find the stream where I did the part you missed, and then you can just watch it back. Of course, then your character will be replaced with a Lalafell wearing all pink, and there will be a weird voiceover with like a guy in a shirt in the corner sometimes, reading things out loud and making voices. But hey, it's better than you going, now I have to go into New Game Plus and do the whole thing again to figure out what they were saying. But it's better than nothing, right? I hope the guy is in a shirt. Don't you worry. Sometimes there'll also be a manatee present. The desire sensor's real, or else I'd have my pants. You know, fair. Q always pops the second your time node comes up. Yeah, exactly, 11. It's not like I wanted your attention or anything, Baka. The Q. But yeah, that's I do suggest that sometimes. Sometimes people say they can't, like they're not feeling like reading all the dialogue for the MSQ stuff, so they don't get anywhere. So I say, well, you can have me read it for you. I did it on stream. You just find the correct stream, and then you can have me read it for you. Some people go, I missed this thing, I don't remember this thing. I did it all, so you can just watch me find it again instead of having to do it all again if you don't, like, if that's the problem. But it's better than nothing. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. And then if you just want to like put on like an extremely long series, then you have the incredible opportunity of having like 50 plus episodes of like 6 hours of me just doing MSQ. In Somal, the spread crystal is purple. Oh. Right, because it also has... Yeah, because it has the exact circle. That's usually purple, the purpley pink one, right? Like purplish pink one with the actual circle instead of the orange one where it's just like, you figure out how big it is. We have John Final Fantasy as Paladin.
Come
Oh yeah! Look, it's John Final Fantasy.
Sanctum. Let us see how you fare against my servants.
Silverman says, I kind of want to do MSQ again. Do you recommend picking a job and going through it with an alt or New Game Plus? If you want to do the MSQ again, I think the best way to experience that would be to make a new character and do it again. It will just not be the same to do it New Game Plus. But if you just want to experience a specific part again, then your best choice is New Game Plus. And I can say the New Game Plus stuff is quite effective if there's something specific you want to like check. And I have used that to like science some things on occasion. Not much, but like once or twice. I don't think it'll be the same going through the whole MSQ again with New Game Plus. I would highly recommend, like really recommend, that you make a new character for that. Also just because, I mean, if you're going to go through the entire MSQ again anyway, then if you make an alt, then you will have something to show for it. Instead of just like having it for yourself. You would have an entire extra character finished. Or, you know, finished however much you manage to do it.
It shall be my pleasure to welcome you personally.
If I remember correctly, I feel like I read like a small interview with the voice actor for Thaliak, where he said that no one had actually said Beauregard before in like voiceover in the games, that they didn't actually get like say that he had to say in any particular way. I think I heard that. So like he just got to decide. How do you say Beauregard? I don't remember if that was exactly how it went, but I'm pretty sure that was what he said. I mean, Beauregard sounds really cool, so like you'll hear no complaints from me. It's not difficult to say either. You could specifically make an EU character so you could play on my streams. That's true, Silverman. That is actually a really good reason. I don't know, Cole. If you actually skip cutscenes you don't care about, I think you can probably get through those first 20 levels in a few hours. And in my experience, you don't have to run around that much. At least not as far as I remember. And I did it again, after all, like a year ago. And yeah, exactly. Both Silverman and Luca the Magi, you can make EU alts, so you can join in here. Right, very true, Shiro. The New Game Plus system, like it's very well designed, looks very fancy. But if you want to have the full story, then like I think it's just the easiest way to just, you know, make a new character, and it's also like the most like quote unquote right way, I'd say. Like you don't like you will actually have to like re-experience things like leveling a job again, even though the road to 80 will mean that it's usually not really a problem, but you will also have to gear the job again. You won't just have full bis.
Seek new perspectives, and you shall find new paths.
Okay, the Magi says, I read it with a silent T at the end, personally. Yeah. Beauregard. I'd say that. Yeah, sometimes actions and things in Final Fantasy XIV have like enough wiggle room in the way that you can say the thing, that what really matters is that it can be said in a way that makes sense. Like, for example, I made the video on like origins and pronunciations of actions. And part of the motivation of making that wasn't exactly to say, oh, you're all saying things wrong. Like, sometimes, like, some of the translations or pronunciations was like, people are saying it wrong because they don't even know what what the actual word means. But the reason to look into what the words mean is actually more so because a lot of people I've heard have trouble actually remembering or understanding what the remembering and memorizing the actions because they don't even know what the word means, which I think is reasonably understandable, right? If you don't it's like memorizing an anime theme. Remember, you have to memorize. If you don't understand Japanese, then good luck memorizing the Japanese part. Because instead of remembering words, you're mostly just remembering sounds. That's part of the reasoning for why I think it makes so much sense to try and learn what the words mean. I don't have that much trouble with memorizing just a sound, as long as I can connect it to a specific sentence or something. I don't exactly think of the Greek meanings of the Sage actions when I think about the actions, but it does make it a lot easier to talk about Sage if you know what the actions, how you're actually supposed to say the words, right? I think the Dragoon is new.
Well done, wise children.
They're trying their best.
Well done.
Smooth sailing so far, I see. Come then.
Yeah, Japanese is not scary, Gazel. You're absolutely right. But it was more to say, if you don't actually understand a lick of Japanese, then Japanese words in a song are just as good as nonsense, right? It's going to be really hard to memorize those lyrics. Massacre! Nani?
Mine are the waves and the winds.
One of Dawn Trail job actions will be Spanish. Oh, I would love it if we finally get to see all of Viper's actions and it's all just Spanish or something. No one has any idea what the things are called. I would actually think that would be really funny, because I know a lot of people have, as I said, a lot of people have trouble picking up Sage because they can't memorize the actions because it's all Greek, right? I would find it pretty funny in a way, in a weird way, if all the people going, ah yes, Viper, that's my new main, that's the one for me, and then they can't remember anything because, and they can't play it because it's all Spanish. And that's also true, Bits. And I think it's pretty interesting, the Adlocurium translation indeed. Oh, left straight. I tried.
Ah, you don't disappoint. Oi, cut it out, you.
Oh, there was someone who kissed.
Like the stormy seas, I'm a harsh mistress.
The Viper trailer had no sauce. Well, they showed off the blue aura thing. I think they like, the thing is, they weren't exactly trying to like, I think they were just like trying to like drum up a little bit of like hype. But if they don't even know, like if the job isn't even close to finish yet, then they can't show very much. Like, in the trailer, they should hopefully only show things that they're 100% like on board with keeping.
I trust
Like,
you don't mind if they play.
most of the stuff we saw in that trailer is probably staying in some way, because can you imagine the outcry if they showed off that cool blue aura thing and them like combining their glaive like they do and all that? If they actually figure out that they don't want to do that. Like, they've specifically showed us so little of the job that they've shown us just enough that we can reasonably assume that everything they've shown us is going to show. Like, it's going to be in the final version. Which is not a lot, and doesn't leave very much space to really, you know, show the sauce, as you say, Cole. Not a lot of space for sauce. But I feel like the blue aura mode was a little sauce. A little bit.
That's the way, my clever serpents.
How much did they show of Reaper when it was revealed? If I remember correctly, wasn't it? I think it was Sage they showed first, wasn't it? Or do I remember that completely wrong? I feel like Sage was the one that we knew earlier, but I can't actually remember. But I don't believe they showed very much.
As the ocean.
I'm pretty sure if you like look for the reveal trailers, the key thing is that the closer to the actual release date of the expansion it is, the more they would be like likely to show. Simply because, you know, them being closer to the release day, they would probably have more stuff set in stone. 11 says, apart from Viper, do we know anything about the other job? We know that it is a mage DPS. We know it is a mage DPS, and there is some... it seems very likely, if not outright guaranteed, that it might be green mage. The reason why people think it is green mage is because there's been some teasers in the MSQ, like recent MSQ stuff, that showed an icon that is literally like the green mage icon from other Final Fantasy games. That doesn't mean that that's what it's going to be, but it could be. What archetype is green mage? Well, it's a in the games it is present in, it is a buff debuff focused mage. So like, in games where green mage is present, you would expect green mage to cast things like protect or shell, bio maybe. Like, buffs and debuffs in general is its thing. But in the games where it isn't present, you're more likely to see a white mage cast protect, for example. But the fact that that's what we know is basically meaningless. As you might realize, knowing that it is a buff debuff centric archetype tells us nothing, especially because Sage isn't like in Final Fantasy XIV or in Final Fantasy at large. Sage is not like a a technomance of some sort that is healer-centric, not in the slightest. It's usually like the culminating combination of white and black mage, to my knowledge, with the specific downside that it usually has less MP to work with, which has nothing to do with the Sage of Final Fantasy XIV. So they could say, oh yeah, we're giving you green mage, and then just completely freestyle it. Like, they could do that. They can 100% give us green mage, and then give us nothing that is recognizable of green mage in Final Fantasy at large. They could absolutely do that. Exactly, Luca the Magi. Pretty much.
You must persevere.
I think, and I've said this before, that if that it would make really good sense for green mage to be a dot DPS, because that's like a void that has been left by the rework of Summoner, in my opinion. That would be nice. But I have a hard time imagining that they would do that, given that they removed so many dots during Endwalker. What about the next limited job? So we saw at the fan fest a few months ago, they brought it up and asked, like, out into the room what people were expecting, and people were like screaming about Beastmaster, because years ago they suggested that they were interested in adding more limited jobs like Blue Mage, and they had talked about, well, Beastmaster would be a pretty good fit, and then just complete radio silence after that. But then I believe they actually also said, oh, also Puppet Master or something like that. So, like, they didn't exactly say, oh, we're not getting that, or did anything to, like, reduce the hype. So there's a reasonable expectation that we're probably getting a pet job of some sort as the next limited. But we have no proof. Like, we don't have anything in writing.
You can overcome this. I know you can.
And I would also very much like... Yeah, exactly. Beastmaster would perfectly fit as a limited job. Because the reason why I say that, I agree with that, is because the problem with Blue Mage, like if we just circle back to the limited job that we actually have, maybe a pink mage that gets a buff by gets buffed by cherry pink dye. I think that would be really good as well. I'm pretty sure that that would be my new main. Whoops. Hey Lemon, it's been a while. I hope you're doing well. I am winning, I would say. The reason why Blue Mage makes sense as a limited job is because if you think about it, how would you make a Blue Mage that actually, like, satisfies what someone would expect of Blue Mage, of Final Fantasy, like, at large, in general, of the franchise? How would you make that in an MMO like Final Fantasy XIV? I would say the simple answer there is you can't. Like, you can't make it, because Blue Mage is literally like it's the job with the weird, nonsensical mega toolbox of it. Somehow just has everything, but all of the stuff it has is just random stuff that it picked up somewhere. And that just doesn't work in the Final Fantasy XIV, like, the Holy Trinity of DPS, healer, tank, right? It doesn't work. And because it doesn't work, it's just better to just say, whatever, we'll just do something else. And the else that we got is the limited job. Similarly, how would you make a Beastmaster or a Puppet Master? Are they a DPS? Probably. But how would you make that work? Because people would obviously want to, like, to get, like, really creative with what pets they want. They want to, like, catch a bunch of pets. But think about how Summoner works. You've got 3 at one point. Nowadays you don't. You get 1. But they would have to heavily limit your options for pets if they had to make it like a quote-unquote real job. And I don't think people actually want that. Like, I don't think they... I think they would rather want a limited job for that. And yeah, they could do Holy Trinity with their pets, but that's the thing. Only if it's a limited job. That, like, Blue Mage can switch role, but it's a limited job. No other job can switch role. Because that's not what normal jobs do.
May the wind ever be at your back.
In Final Fantasy XIV. That could also work, 11. There is actually a Necromancer boss in, I believe it's Hero's Gauntlet.
Yes. Mankind has indeed grown strong.
Nikolai says, this boss is dumb. Just sweep the entire platform with that massive bow. Shh. Sorry. Just... Shh. Thank you. Yeah, so the thing is, we have Beastmasters in Final Fantasy XIV. They're just not player accessible. Most of the, like, there's a whole bunch of bosses in Bosha that are Beastmasters. You can typically recognize them by them wielding a one-handed axe and a shield. And then, of course, they have all those big beasts alongside them, but there are Beastmasters. That's why people were so convinced that we would get it. But then, like, not much stuff was done with it for ages. Then Rage is just the boss grabbing the arena and shaking it. You know, I think Nikolai is onto something here. All of these giant bosses just not using the fact that they're giant to just swat the players off the arena. Like, what are they doing? Gleaming says, I've been told that they said they weren't gonna do Necromancer. Is that true? I think the argument here is that if you think about it, do we have any actually evil jobs in Final Fantasy XIV that the player has access to? Not really. The closest we get to, like, an actually evil job is, like, Reaper. Like, that's the closest we get, I think. And that one isn't even evil. It's just a way of fighting that happens to employ something that is, like, mildly, like, it has an origin that is, like, is viewed as evil. The thing is, Dark Knight isn't evil. It literally, like, the entire storyline of Dark Knight is you, like, helping people despite everything, right? Neither of the evil jobs are evil, but it would be very difficult to sell the fantasy of a necromancer not being evil, I think. Like, it is possible, but I feel like it's a common problem in, like, RPGs that have, like, necromancers. Like, how do you explain that one? Like, how do you explain that one? And I feel like usually the way that they explain it is the story just ignores what job you are or what class you are. Like, just quietly ignores it because it's easier than actually, like, trying to approach the subject. And yeah, Reaper and Dark Knight are just vigilantes like Batman. I'm Batman. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I do believe they've said that, Gleaming. I can't remember, like, how clearly they said it, but I do believe they were like, yeah, we probably won't be getting on Necromancer, specifically because, like, the player is, like, in Final Fantasy XIV, you are the hero of the story. That's how it works, and it's not going to be any other way than that. You're going to be the hero of the story, whether you like it or not. That's how Final Fantasy works. And it just wouldn't work very well, is my guess. There's also a possibility that they just can't come up with a good way to make it work. I do recall some months ago that they mentioned that they've tried to make a job that dual wields shields. But every time they've tried, like they've worked with this idea for a long time, but they usually fall flat when they try to come up with like a rotation or a toolkit beyond defensive cooldowns. It's not very shocking they had no issue coming up with defensive cooldowns, right? Yeah, Ritherton job, exactly. And yeah, I think 2 gun shields would be a good start as well. Varus only had 1 and a gun blade, but I get what you're what you meant. That's also true, as Shiro said. There's a whole thing about necromancy being bad. And that's also the reason why I say many games that have necromancer as a player option usually just avoids the subject by just ignoring your class. Like, they just leave that part unmentioned and just move on, because there's no way to make the story make sense if they have to acknowledge that you're actually a necromancer, if you're also the good guy. Shield sweep, face smash, front kick. There you go. There's your 1-2-3 combo for Ritherton. The job. Nailed it. Yeah, I would think that would be really cool. Here's the thing. I love me a shield. That would actually be a nice, like, return to form a little bit for Paladin Caldia, because a long time ago, a long time ago, at this point, Paladin had more shield-related actions. Bulwark was actually, like, pulled out from the past to be granted back to Paladin. They used to have an attack called Shield Swipe that you could only use after blocking. That just did damage. But it would be nice if they had a little bit more.
Not a single note of
Double shield tanks, gap closer, shield surf. They just step up on the shield and then fire the cannon. I do believe shield swipe was an ability you could weave. Whoops. Oh, I thought I wouldn't get shot that far. Oh boy. But yeah, I would love a gun shield centric job. Absolutely. Gun spear for the next Capcom collab. Can we have Monster Hunter collab for Dawn Trail new job? Yes. Or maybe the next expansion, can we have like a Gunlands job? Yes. Wow, Shiro basically sniped me saying that. What if Gunlands and Gunshield at once? I mean, if they ever actually like decide to hand us a job that uses the gun blades of the Guardians, then like just give us a Gunshield as well while you're at it. Come on now. Yeah, there's the rage tank. I'm a bit surprised that the boss has this much HP left. Bit says, I would love a Monster Hunter collab. I'm sad I missed one in the past. You haven't actually missed it, because the Monster Hunter collaboration in Final Fantasy XIV is here to stay. Like, it stays. It's there forever. It's the Rathalos trial. So there's nothing to be sad about there, at least. It is staying. It's still here. It's, I believe it's either unlocked in Azim's Step or Kogane. The NPCs are, in relation to it, are in Kogane. Hmm. Forgetful Ferret says, Funlands Bro needs an explosive reactive armor cooldown. That would be funny. Well, Bits, I think you have to complete at least the leveling story of Stormblood of MSQ to unlock it. Because it is a level 70 trial. So that just gives you more reasons to, you know, do your MSQ. Have you been away? Have you been completely away from Final Fantasy XIV, Lemon? Well, at least the game isn't going anywhere. I just want to highlight that the only gear piece that I actually want from Thalea right now is the Monk Samurai shoes, because they have a better like stat combination than the other 650 shoes. It's not that it's not something I need, but it's just if I'm going to have it 650 anyway, then might as well get the best one. The reason why I'm saying this is because I've gone into Thalea looking for these shoes at least 3 or 4 times. It's not that I've lost rolls on those shoes. They don't drop. I haven't seen them drop. You know, Bits, you can also get a mount from the Monster Hunter collab. You just have to do the extreme version. Let me see, do I have it on my favorites? Do I not have it on my favorites? Oh, here it is. That's a funny way to jump. Greed Sensor says hi. They just that's actually the real Monster Hunter collab. If like you probably don't know this, but before the Monster Hunter collab, if you went into like a trial or like a dungeon or a raid or whatever, and you wanted a specific item, it would just drop it and you could have it. But after the Monster Hunter collab, they implemented the desire sensor, and and things have never been the same since. The extra interesting thing is, in the second phase, to not say too much on it, but in the second phase of the Rathalos fight, you can't use healing spells. You can only heal with your potions that you're given. And the extreme version is a 4-man version, so that you're a 4-man hunting party instead of, 8. Rathalos came infected with a greed sensor virus. I mean, I had to do it 50 times to get the mount, which is the RNG compensation. You need a certain amount of scales. You can also cut the tail, by the way. Yeah, Lemon, if you don't have much time to play Final Fantasy XIV, I can see that it wouldn't be very valuable to like pay for the subscription just to like log in once. If you've been away from the game for a while, you probably also need, you'd need time to figure out like what's the state of your account. Like you log in, you're like, I don't know where I am. What's a good example for me on that? Oh yeah, like I've logged in on actually a Monster Hunter save and been like, looked at my gear, looked at what hunts I had up on the menu. I was like, I don't know what I was doing last time I played. Like I have not the faintest clue, and that can be overwhelming in its own right. With Final Fantasy XIV, there's way more like, you could just go, well, I'll do this now, or you could, you know, just sort your stuff and choose to do something completely different. But it can feel a little bit like sometimes with Monster Hunter, like, you want to know what it was that you were doing, because it's probably obvious the instant you realize what it was that you were doing. And it's certainly probably not the only game. There was this time, years ago, when I was playing Guild Wars 2, way into the night. Like, way late. To the point where I was like, I have to go to sleep now. Because it was like I was falling asleep in the middle of quests and stuff. Like, did you just imagine the necromancer just running forward like this, while his zombies are dealing with the enemies? And like, I think I have to go to bed now. And somehow I managed to find my way to a safe place to log out. But when I logged in the day after and checked my map, there was just like you just imagine you see like, oh, what's a good example? Maybe this. Like, you just imagine you see like a map like this, right? And there's just a beeline from like, I've explored this up here maybe, and then like explored this, and then it's just a beeline over to the Aetheryte or something. Like, I just ran directly to the Aetheryte. That was just not where it was supposed to be. Like, just log in, like, how did I get here? So that's always fun. Anyway, that's a huge sidestep. My point was that if you've been away from an MMO for a long time, then you probably need a little bit more than 5 minutes or a day to figure out what you were doing last time. Exactly, Shiro says, I just booted up Rise recently. I'm lost. Please help. There's an Amatsu here. Now I thought it died in Generations Ultimate. Yeah, exactly. You put your laptop in the fridge? That sounds like a really hard way to play. Like, you're basically playing on a time limit because you don't know when your laptop just goes. You could also just like put like something cold on your laptop. Maybe that'll help while you play it. Well, of course, that's way back. Like, that was a long time ago. Always easy in hindsight, right? When you last logged in, well, I don't know about your... I wouldn't actually be able to know because because it doesn't tell you how long people have been away on the friends list, unfortunately. But it has been a while. I feel like the last time we saw your character logged in, Lemon, was when we were still working on the Black Mage leveling on Small Kai. Isn't that right? I feel like it was something like that. So much stuff. How far is Small Kai with Astro? Well, she's level 80. And she's doing Eden later this week. And yeah, then we will probably do the Neo raid after that at some point. And then we will level a tank, and it's going to be a Dark Knight, and then we will do Endwalker stuff with that. And then maybe Dawn Trail is here. Who knows how long it'll take me. But if we do finish all that, then I imagine we will finally finish the remainder of the MSQ that Small Kai hasn't done. Hey, Andreas says, is Summoner a good choice for a noob? Yes, in a way. Summoner is considered by many, it is considered the easiest damage dealer job in Final Fantasy XIV. An added benefit is that when you level Summoner, you also get access to Scholar, which is a healer job. So you can switch between them. If you don't like Summoner, for example, you can try Scholar a bit, which is very convenient. The reason why I say Summoner is kind of a good choice for a new player is because it has some maybe not entirely obvious mechanics, and some like things that aren't explained too well. But if when you get a new spell or a new ability, you try and use it, it should get you a long way. If you're not sure though, I of course have a guide for Summoner, both a starter one and one for higher level, so you can use that if you like. I would recommend Summoner as a starter job. It is very approachable, but it can sometimes get to be a little bit of a long read. Yeah, but I have guides on it if you need it. But I would recommend it as a new player, as long as you don't find it too overwhelming with all these weird mechanics. It's very front-loaded with all the stuff it wants to teach you. Other jobs have a little bit less stuff to teach you, but the thing is, with some of these jobs, they just like postpone the hard part till later, and then you just get surprised with how difficult the job is. I hope you can use that, Andreas. Summoner books are actually just their job action descriptions canonically. You just open the book and it's just, that's actually the Ifrit tooltip. It's an entire page. You think it's geometric shapes, but it's actually the action icons in the book. Just written right there. No wonder the books do so much damage. Enjoy, Andreas. I lost my Garuda page because I'm casting Ifrit. How do I cast Garuda again? It's extra bad because Scholar is like... They like rip pages out of the book. Did you see that? They, as the animation for excogitation, they just yoink a page. Just yoink. Someone's like, I think the Scholar's taking my book again. There's so many pages missing. Yeah, we don't turn the page. When we're done with it, we just rip it out. Level 100 skill for someone is actually called Index. I think it is pretty funny that Xcog is just... That's how scholars keep their secrets. Read the page and rip it off. When you know a scholar needs a new weapon upgrade, it's when the book is like really thin. Like when the books are getting really, really thin, they're like, they really need a new book. This is why Summoner and Scholar have separate books. Scholar kept ripping pages out of the Summoner's books. Have your own! Eating the fairy restores the pages? How does that work, I wonder? It's pretty funny. Forgetful Third says, Summoners are readers. They get rest and talk in book clubs. Scholars are sleep-deprived writers. Oh, that's what's happening. They're like, oh, this doesn't work either. It's just, no, this is a bad strategy. The lore of the jobs. I found a typo. Not again. Right. So, with that said, we got through our roulettes, we got through our weekly stuff. Most of it. And if you did enjoy the wonderful people that you see in the chat right now, remember that there is a Discord community server you can join where you will find most of them, I'm pretty sure, and you'll also find me. You also find the weekly schedule where you can see what else is happening on the channel throughout the week. It usually gets updated Sunday or Monday. You can also find the announcement room where I post whenever there is a new video, a new stream, whatever it is. It usually shows up there first with a link. If you go into the role assignments room, you can also find specifically the reminder role, which will give you a little notification whenever I post a schedule, whenever I post a video, whenever I plan a stream. And around 15 minutes before something like time sensitive like a stream, you'll get an extra reminder so you don't miss a second. And if you did in fact enjoy this stream, it will help me a lot if you leave a like on the stream. You know, in the YouTube system, you know, the thumbs up thing that tells YouTube that it was a great stream and you would like more people to enjoy it. You know, it'll be left as a vote afterwards, and that helps my channel. So thank you so much in advance. I think that's everything? I think. Oh, Murphy, you actually fell asleep in your online class. Oh no. This was like the, you know how like in like a like cartoon episode that like there's like the B plot of Murphog's online class. It finally resolved. What's the mount's name? That mount, I'm guessing you're thinking of the dragon there. It's the Fey Gwibber. It comes from Titania Extreme. Right. Thank you all so much for watching. Good night, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are in the world, and I hope to see you all very soon. Bye bye.